Are you chewing something, Ben Gretch?
I am.
Yeah.
I just housed dinner. It's 6:15 out here that we start. So to figure out dinner time for a family of 4, I gotta like make sure I'm planning at 5:30, or else we run into me holding us up for 5-10 minutes.
What was on the dinner menu in the Gretch household tonight?
Mom made some street tacos, and they were good. I just housed 3 of them like super fast. I realized at like 6:11 that it was 6:11.
What?
And
So
I needed to eat tacos really fast.
I had tacos tonight as well, but I don't know if they were street tacos. How are we defining street tacos?
I don't know. She just made some barbacoa and then did the little tortillas and called them street tacos. And grilled some peppers. Grilled peppers.
Maybe the little tortillas is how mine were big. They were domesticated tacos. All right. Pat, what did you have for dinner tonight?
We had some Greek dish that I'd never heard of.
Street Greek?
Seshush something. I literally have no idea what it's called already. No, it was like garlic and onions, and then tomato sauce, like a spicy tomato sauce, and then you put eggs in it, and then the eggs just cook in the sauce. Then you eat it with bread.
No,
it was really good.
Takeout.
It was really good.
Takeout, Pat?
No. We cooked it, which is weird for me. I normally don't cook.
Yeah. Pat lives in the takeout capital of the world, really. You know, New York City is famously a melting pot where Pat is bobbing and weaving outside of street food and speakeasies, just living it up.
Shakshuka, the whole chat.
That's it. Yeah.
There you go.
Shakshuka, yeah.
Look at our audience is way more cultured than we are. We knew Devin.
Just everyone in a row. It's good. I enjoyed it.
I think all 3 of these people live in Brooklyn, would just be my guess. I'm pretty sure I know Devin does.
Devin does. So.
Gabriella, Jay Riddle, where do you guys live? Ben Gretch, Pat and I just did a stream with Brian Hooper. We did lulz. We talked Top Shot for an hour and a half. Do you have Top Shot brain? Do you have Top Shot brain, or what brain are you in right now?
Well, I told you guys yesterday I had some questions. My Twitter timeline the last 2 days has just been so much Top Shot. And then after I tweeted about it yesterday, our Omna Fantasy DM chat for the ship chasing people, it has just been Top Shot for 2 days. So at this point,
don't poke the bear, man. I
don't have Top Shot brain. I have. God, do I have to go on with these guys tonight? What else are we going to be talking about?
I will, Ben. So, okay, 2 things. First of all, Ben you had a couple tweets the other night, maybe 2 weeks ago. Top Shot time, no idea. But you were saying like, I'm not quite that into it, but I'm happy for everyone. You like weren't being like the salty asshole, like some people out there. But one thing I did want to mention to you, I almost replied it and I was like, I'll save it for the show. But you're like, I don't know anything about the NBA. And I was like, well, first of all, Ben, I know nothing about the NBA. Also, you're running, you're running Omni Fantasy about 19 different sports leagues that you only know to a varying extent. Like, I don't feel like that should be your barrier of entry.
It shouldn't. And Pat's had some really funny tweets. I don't know. Was it like a Roto World NBA headline thing where you put in some notes like first time I've ever heard of this guy? And that killed me. I mean, it shouldn't have been a barrier to entry. It's what I let be a barrier to entry. And then, yeah, as I was saying in my tweets, though, the Top Shot moonshot tweets are far, far less annoying than the people that are really salty about the Top Shot. Like people like me who had a chance to get in early. We were, you and me, the 3 of us and Leone were talking about it really early, like right after Bills wrote about it. And as we were doing the FSPC stuff, and I remember everyone in the group being like, what is this at that time? And you guys were like, well, I'm going to dip my toes in. And I was like, I'm not. Like I went and looked. I remember I wanted to buy a more expensive pack. They were all sold out. And I was like, these like $9, $12 packs, whatever they were. And like they were available. You could just buy them at that time. So not really worth it. I want to do something a little higher stakes. I'll keep an eye on it. Very sharp decision.
I will say, I mean, I was laughing today because the past 2 pack drops, now that they have kind of the line situation figured out, like I had TweetDeck open when these happen in just an endless barrage of people screenshotting where they are in line. And I was crying, laughing, just thinking of, imagine if you hate Top Shot. It was like, you would literally have to mute your entire account, like everyone you follow, just to avoid these. It was just like, I feel like if you were A, hated Top Shot, and B, were like very bitter about it, this is a really tough time.
Oh,
it's been a tough month.
I'm not even bitter. I just scroll past them, but
Yeah.
it's exhausting. It's like there's so many to scroll past. There's no other tweets. So just get off Twitter.
And like, I've been there. Like, I guess the closest thing for me would be, I didn't watch Game of Thrones. And, you know, when all that stuff was happening, and I never got tilted about it. Like, I'm legitimately happy that people love the show. Like, I have a hard time just getting into fantasy stuff, like non-fantasy football stuff. And it was just like, whatever, like people are talking about it, maybe crack a couple jokes or whatever. Winter's coming, I think, is a thing. But like, who cares? People are finding happiness. Like, why is it so upsetting to you?
I'm serious. Like, I would way rather see the tweets about that you're in 74,000th in line, like anyone cares, than I would see someone being just totally salty that everyone else is having fun, making money, and then commenting, can you even withdraw? And like on every single one, like, dude, just get a life. Like, you didn't do it. They're doing it. They're having a good time. That's what this whole space is. Yeah. We're all degenerates. I mean, I love that you guys. If I was doing it, I'd be having a blast. I know I would be.
I lost so much money not watching Game of Thrones, TJ. I mean, it was the investment opportunity of a lifetime. I actually legitimately, I started, and God, I'm going to reveal myself. So I saw Leone tweet about a fantasy novel yesterday, and then Andy, who I've been doing Top Shot shows with, replied and said it was really good. And I was like, screw it, I'll buy it on my Kindle. And I started reading it this morning, and I'm just like, I'm trying so hard. And it's like, you know, the guy pulls the sword out of the stone, and it's like the 9th level of hell in Bergdom. And then the Zion King rises from the ashes, and the 11 dragons form a coalition. I'm like, I can't do this.
It's just like all world building, like nonstop world building.
And they were saying it was so good. They were using comments where like, you know, it's well thought out. It's like Lost, but actually thought out where the payoff hits. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to get to this payoff. I tried. This is my thought. Yeah. Do everything Andy says. I was like, if both Leone and Andy like this, I'll give it a shot, but I think they're just too big of fucking nerds, man. I have to draw the line somewhere. So Ben, what do we have to do to get you to sign up for Top Shot?
I mean, I would probably do it. If it was easier to do. I just, at this point, I don't know anything. I mean, I've thought about trying to get in these lines for these.
You got to get in lines for the packs, man. It's just free money right now. Like, eventually, it's not going to be free money.
Super low shot to hit them.
It is, but it's a free lottery.
Yeah,
and it's like, you know, in some of these drops, there's some really valuable cards that are included. You have a very, very low chance to get those. But even if you get a random pack, it's paying.
So I didn't understand the process until my league's DMs the last couple of days. They were talking about it. Some other people in the group, I guess, didn't really know, and they were kind of walking through it. I didn't realize you sign up and then it randomizes your spot in order. So you don't have to be like, you have like a window. You don't have to be. See, I thought I had to be like super plugged in, and I was like, screw that. You know, I have kids. Everyone I know who's into this, for the record, doesn't have kids. Like, I just want to put that out there. It's a bunch of single dudes or dudes in relationships where they're already, you know,
or dudes who were in relationships
before Top Shot.
Hey, this is, I think, the best selling point for you, Gretch, on Top Shot. You want to be familiar with how all this stuff functions for when the NFL version rolls out.
I do know that. And I've said that. I said it in the chat to those guys. They're all going to have such a and you guys, anyone who's doing it is going to have such a market advantage, just understanding the serial number stuff, all the stuff that drives pricing and where to look.
And even stuff like, I think when the NFL launches, whatever Tom Brady gets priced at, it's going to be way too low. It's like he's going to be kind of the LeBron, and you just like know to, like, there's just no, the dynamics of Top Shot are, you teach you that, like, you know, you want to get the guys who, if they retire tomorrow, their value might go up even.
Hang on. Which is I want to push back a little bit. I do agree that Brady, the player, and his legacy is very similar to LeBron's. But are there like badass Tom Brady moments? Like individual plays that are like, holy shit, that's badass?
Well, I mean, I assume they would include like some catch that was made.
Yeah.
Right?
But
They're not
that's
going to
not
cut
that
off
cool,
at
right?
the throw.
To me, it's good. I feel like there might actually be, I think we've already found a loophole. I think quarterbacks are going to be undervalued on NFL throw shot because like the throws just aren't as impressive.
What about the Tom Brady fourth down? I want to get that one.
Exactly.
Well, what you're going to get is one of these guys over the pile.
Yeah.
1 yard QB sneak in a cloud
You
of
are.
dust. Yeah,
What do you guys think about the possibility of NFL like not blowing up the way NBA has? I'm curious how much you guys think NBA is a first mover thing. It's the newest thing. And then also some of the stuff with the way the site's doing it that has frustrated so many people because it is also a really good product. It's almost like led to the balloon and hype. Like everyone is jumping into these lines in part because of the way they're doing it. They're only rolling out a certain amount of packs and then no one can withdraw. Well, how much did that help them escalate? Because then people just kept buying, right? The money stayed on the site.
That did help.
Do you think those things, and then like if an NFL product drops that is more functional in those ways, that kind of would limit the upside of it? I almost feel like somebody in some back room at the NBA knew that these things would help make it go viral, and their beta is working very well.
I kind of disagree. I think this is just like unlocked a new paradigm of fandom. I feel like the way
no, for sure, but it's the first mover. I'm not denying that it's a real thing. Like there's totally a floor now that I didn't think there was before. This is part of why I'm not so mad that I didn't get in early. Is like I know when it first dipped somewhere in there, and after a few weeks, I remember Pat
was 2 years ago. Yeah, I remember. It was a while
3
back.
years ago. Yeah. Pat was buying up everything, and I was telling you guys, I was like, man, if I was in your position, just outsider view, I'd probably be trying to liquidate. Like you're telling me all this stuff about low value on your moments, but have you sold any of them? Like, have you made any sales? And you guys are like, no, not really. And I was like, I would probably be trying to sell. Like if I had my own stuff, I would have probably sold at that point. You know, I would have had paper hands. So
the thing that's kind of crystallized for me of why, and I've sold a decent amount, but
I've sold too, but I think selling is an important part of this.
Of course, I mean it's important for any market to have, active sellers and, to be encouraging activity. But I think the hard thing about selling is one, you're normally not selling everything. So in a way, you're still invested in the overall success of the site. And then on top of it, there's also the tax implications for each individual sell. So then I come back with circular logic to if I'm bullish on the site long term, and I want the rest of my bags that I'm not selling to be successful, like why not just hold a lot of stuff unless I'm trying to level up into other moments, in which case there are still the tax implications.
But once you sell one thing, technically you're supposed to pay taxes. You're supposed to figure out your top. So to me, it's like if I have to do Top Shot taxes on like $100.
Oh my God!
I might as well do Top Shot. I might as well do more Top Shot taxes.
You guys have made so much money that every decision you're making now includes the tax implications.
I think about it every sale I make.
You guys are talking about taxes right now. Like that's not what Top Shot's supposed to be about. Jesus.
There's some tax implications on some stuff.
It is when Pat's making 7K sales on a bit listing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think you do. I mean, that was part of my thesis with crypto. Like I was like, I don't know enough about this to try to day trade or time the market. I'm just going to buy and hold crypto because I believe in it. And then the benefit is I don't have to deal with the tax implications if I'm never trading it.
But once you have to do some taxes, you might as well there's not like more tax work you have to do. Like someone is doing my 2021 taxes. I'm not doing that. No,
I know. But but you are taking a tax hit on every single one of those.
Yeah.
Great.
That's true. But if you're, that's true. I'm going to have to pay taxes on the hard and sale but I'm trying to get like leveled up to where I can put money into stuff that I really do feel comfortable holding through an NBA offseason. Right. I think that's the way to think about it. Like this market is going to be really, really slow. Eventually, people like me and Pete are going to start paying attention to football and are going to be putting our time into what we normally put our time into.
Believe, but it will happen.
It will happen.
I promise you.
And the market in...
I asked yesterday if we should do a draft today, and you guys were like, well, we're going to talk about Top Shot.
Yeah.
That's right. We'll get to the draft.
We'll get to the draft eventually.
Yeah. But like
Chris G in the chat.
I'm glad he said I have a BAM now, so I'm glad he thinks that. But think about, like, if you're considering, like, okay, I can't sell this guy because of taxes or because he's going to continue to go up. Think about what the market is going to be doing on the first weekend of NFL football. Is it going to be pumping? It will not be pumping. Will it be, in like week 4 of a downswing? Very, very, very plausible. So if you have like major FOMO on this, then think about that. If you have like overly non-paper hands to where you refuse to sell anything in your collection because you think everything's going to the moon, think about that too. Because I do think it's important to try to take profits where you can and not get caught with a bunch of stuff that does end up losing value, because not everything can go to the moon. That's just not how this works. So it's a lot of fun right now, but that's like what I'm trying to think about. And, stuff comes along. I buy it when I don't think I'm going to put any more money in, or I take profits and then I reinvest them. So it's not like, I'm not trying to say, that I'm...
I know you're preaching really well, but when we were talking, you were saying the same type of thing when I was talking about potentially selling, and then as soon as it dipped, you were like, "Oh, I'm buying so much more now. I'm already so over leveraged and I'm buying more." So your actions might not be following.
No, exactly. I'm not trying to say I'm like crushing it action wise, but I do try to at least keep that in mind of like, if I'm going to make a big buy, is this the type of buy that I'm going to feel sick to my stomach holding through the early football season as the market crashes?
I had a thought, and I don't know, you guys, I haven't watched any of the shows or anything. You guys may have already talked about this, but eventually we're going to hit playoff time. And I think Top Shot will still be doing well. Pete, you were talking about this before. I wasn't as bullish early, was sort of my point. I have totally come around to the fact that this is a legitimate thing. I mean, players are tweeting about it. It's very, very real. I think it's still going to be very popular during playoff season. And I think what will be interesting is when we get to, because particularly this kind of ties back into the OmniFantasy thing, right? Like, think about their playoff structure. They have this long playoff structure, or at least this is where my head comes from on this. There's like a week to 2 week period where it's just the NBA Finals. It's just 2 teams, and people are doing, creating these insane highlights, but everyone else's season's done. And if you go back, just before that, I was kind of thinking the conference finals. There's going to be a team in there. Like the Jazz, I saw their odds shoot up in our latest OmniFantasy update. If the Jazz make a run to the Western Conference Finals and they're there with the Lakers and it's like the Nets and the whoever on the other side, a bunch of top teams. I don't know how much the Jazz guys are in Top Shot, but I don't think they have a lot of big time stars, right? Like, do you guys think it's smart to invest in teams like that now in case they make a playoff run? Because then they're going to have an opportunity to basically the only show in town for a little while. Like they'll be the only teams playing for like a week to 2 weeks, because that's how long NBA playoff series take. They're like long as hell. Do you guys think that makes any sense to be like trying to game plan the playoffs?
Well, I think from a macro perspective, it's a good point of just they have so many pack drops, so many series, so many things that they are going to be dropping between now through the end of the playoffs in the season. Like everyone right now, there's relative to the demand, the inventory there's not enough. The demand is outpacing the inventory, and they're going to start cranking out this inventory. And naturally, the premium moments will hold and appreciate. But like a lot of the middle and lower tier stuff is going to get devalued as more stuff comes out, and there's more shiny prizes, a new run it back series in the playoff series, like all that stuff. And right now, and I talk about this a lot with Pat, like if you just take a slightly longer term view than everyone else, you're going to be crushing, because right now it feels like nothing else is ever coming. I have to buy up these series 2 commons because there's never going to be anything else. And that's the euphoria that I think people might be making mistakes getting caught up in.
The way that I think I'd approach that playoff thing, and I think there's something there, is that you'd want to spread it out and buy guys cheaply so that you could take a bunch of different bets
like the year
on
Andre
guys.
Iguodala as a sixth man won Finals MVP for guarding LeBron.
Yeah.
That was one example I was thinking of. If you bought him now, and he's a role player, even not just the Jazz, but a role player on a good team that could win Finals MVP, like Andre Iguodala did.
Yes,
that could be massive, right?
Exactly, and we've seen that the little kind of the low value stuff that was priced low has seen some huge gains, and so I think that there could be more gains to be had by taking that approach with the playoff teams. You can spread it out so you actually get guys on the playoff teams, and then you got to think about who's going to be buying those types of dudes during the playoffs. Like, it's probably going to be people who are trying to get in not at the super high end level. So if you end up buying like one of Donovan Mitchell's best moments right now, sure, if he goes on to like win a championship, that's going to be an awesome buy. But I think in the type of, he has an awesome like conference finals game, I don't know that he's going to have the kind of multiplier on his moment that kind of the role player would.
That's a good point. Yeah. I was thinking secondary players. I wasn't thinking like Donovan Mitchell and who's Gobert's their other big name.
Yeah, the reason, Ben, that I just want you to get your feet wet is because of the Omni Fantasy thing. Like, you've been open to engaging with these sports in these markets in different ways. In Omni Fantasy, that's what makes it so great. We've talked about it. It's futures markets for all these sports meets fantasy. And, the Top Shot is just, it's more like you can play it from the long view, like Omni. You can play it from a day trader perspective. If you want, like the dynasty angle was what Pat and I were talking about a little bit earlier too. Like, I just think your openness to how you're approaching fantasy and sports stocks, I think it really dovetails with what you're doing with Omni.
Yep, probably. I mean, I obviously, like, it's not a major secret that I wish I would have gotten into this, and I've been watching like through the window, like one of those gifs, like, oh man, that looks so fun. Like, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I think when we do have another big pack drop, the prices will fall, because there's a lot of people in here who don't want to necessarily like buy that pack on their credit card. They're going to want to sell moments to be able to get the pack. And then there's a bunch of people who've never really seen the market dip. So all of a sudden the market's dipping and they're like, crap. I just bought this thing for 2 times what it was worth yesterday. I'm just going to make sure I don't lose too much money on this thing. So you could start to see. So anyway, if I were in your shoes, I would be waiting for some kind of dip, and then that's what I would get in.
Yeah.
And I would be signing up to try to get those packs.
So my thing is, like, I've still never created an account, so I'm not even getting in lines on these things, because it's like, why would I go create an account and get in lines and not get packs? Like, it seems like there's such a small percentage chance. But after talking,
there's no downside though.
Yeah, after talking to you here, I probably will still do that. But the downside is, like, whatever amount of money you put into the account. Number one, I'm gonna immediately invest time into it. Because I know me, I'll start looking.
I was going to tell you, Ben, your risk is not your monetary investment.
Right.
It is it's taking over your life.
That's exactly. I'm seeing it with all of you guys. It's exactly why I have not gotten in yet.
I'm not worried about your money. I'm not worried about your money, Ben. I'm worried about your marriage. I'm worried about you being a father. Ben, it's really fun over here in Top Shot world.
You like Top Shot,
dude? Like, it's so funny.
Come play Top Shot, Ben.
I'm in 4 different Omni Fantasy drafts right now. I'm in the ship chasing one and a couple other ones. Rotoviz one, one with some of the just broader industry guys. I think you guys are both in that one as well. I'm in one with some of my CBS former colleagues over at CBS. Every single time a pack drop happens, all 4 drafts come to a screeching halt. It almost doesn't matter who's up. I've realized that, like, so many people are into Top Shot. Like, they come to a screeching halt for like several hours. People just forget about Omni Fantasy, which, like, I don't blame them for at all. But it has been so obvious. Like, every time I'm like, man, there hasn't been a lot of picks in a while. I like check Twitter, like, where are these drafts held up on? And then I'm looking at the DMs, and then I see the timeline, and the timeline's just like, oh yeah, Top Shot. Like, I know that all these people are very, very invested in this time-wise right now. I don't want to be.
No, I legitimately, like, if someone's excuse for not getting in Top Shot is I don't want to have my time jeopardized by this, like, to me that is the best reason not to
Highly
do it.
valid. Highly valid.
By far the best argument
Yeah.
I've heard for it. Like, I will not give anyone any gruff for that. Like, if you want to be like, I can't do the time, I'll be like, you're right. Don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been worth it. Obviously, you guys have put a lot of hours in, but your return has still been very strong from an hourly perspective. However you want to analyze that, break it down.
Yeah, and I was saying to Pat too, like, also for me, like, I'm not, DFS, I do because it's fun. But a lot of like the DFS stuff, like the prep, like feels like a grind, like updating the stuff, like making sure you're making really good decisions. The thing that's just so fun about Top Shot, and I know we are in a euphoric state with it right now, is just like everything feels so fun. Like, we're all just having a lot of fun. Like, the community busting balls with people in Discord, on Twitter, doing the shows. Like, I'm just legitimately having a ton of fun. And that's kind of my guiding light for everything. It's like, if I'm having fun, I do it. And if it doesn't become fun, then I pull the plug on it.
Yeah. And I think that's, I understand like completely people who are basically like, this is stupid and it only works if people buy it after you. So like, why would I ever get involved in this? And you shouldn't. Like, don't get involved if you don't want to get involved. But these are collectibles, they're tradables, and there's no friction in getting them and then putting them on the market and then selling them and looking for something else to buy. It's like, if you've ever collected anything, you kind of know why that's fun. And this is a very fun version of that. So like,
yeah, you guys are just having fun with Pokemon cards. Like,
yeah, it's like that same type of thing, really. But it's, it's
you, like, some of these players, you know them as well as you know Bulbasaur.
I know them less than Charizard for sure. I'm very familiar with Charizard stats. I don't know who these guys are.
Pat, I feel like you're selling yourself short. You Google and research these guys for at least 15 minutes before buying their Cosmic.
That's true. I do watch a little bit of Jason Tatum before I go, oh man.
It's about as much as you watch a Danny Medvedev, right?
Oh, I watched Medvedev for Brittany was like, why are you watching tennis? I watched his highlights.
Real question. Did you watch more Medvedev or Tatum?
Medvedev, like 3 times as much.
And how much money do you have on Jason Tatum versus Medvedev?
How much is that buying for the Omni Fantasy League? Like $40? So a lot less.
Ben, that's a testament to Omni Fantasy. You got Pat to do far more research for far less.
There you go. Medvedev looked sweet. I thought he was going to win the Australian.
Were you sweating that?
Took him in one league. No, I didn't have anywhere that it mattered, but I was updating it for the 2020 leagues that were finishing, and I did have some leagues that were close at the end, but I don't think it actually mattered if Medvedev won. But I did notice after like updating it and looking at all the matchups, my great resource Wikipedia, every time I look at it, they show you the sets. Medvedev lost like 2 sets the entire Australian Open until he faced Djokovic. And I don't think a single set he won was on a tiebreaker. He was winning everything in straight sets, like semis, quarters, everything. Djokovic lost like 4 or 5 sets. He won like 4 of his sets on tiebreakers. Like, that's sort of natural over the course of, a 2-week tournament that you have some sets that go to tie breaks and you win them, you lose some in some matches. Medvedev was cruising, and then Djokovic beat him in straight sets. But I thought you were going to have a victory there, even though it wouldn't have counted. But it would have been a big moment.
Yeah, it would have been really fun if he won. I mean, watch this dude play tennis for real. Like, he is really fun to watch, and he's like super lanky, and he's young. So I'm like, this guy could end up being I was saying, like, can we do Dynasty Omni Fantasy so I can take Medvedev first overall? Like, I'm excited that I'm invested in this dude's career. He seems like he's going to be a pretty fun tennis player.
Who's the NFL comp for Medvedev?
Herbert.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a good comp.
I just wanted to get Ben excited about some other topic just for a hashtag. I just wanted to see what it was like to see a Ben Gretsch smile. Just say Herbert. We're talking football for 4 seconds.
I swear that's what I thought this was when I signed up for it.
I know. Gretsch is like, yeah, I'll be the third member of Ship Chasing. Next thing you know, Pat and I turned it into an NBA Top Shot show. Gretsch is like, I'm out, man. I could be eating street tacos with my family right now.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
NBA / crypto It's very true.
Anytime Ben Gretsch, we do not hold him hostage. He's free to come and go as he pleases. Gretsch loves
that. Matt, you actually kind of made it seem like he is a hostage. The way you said that. It's like a gun on him somehow.
What do you guys have on me?
Yeah.
What we have on you, Gretsch.
I enjoyed chatting with you guys.
Well, and you have an
Typically when it's not about Top Shot.
Yeah, that also seemed forced.
Well, there's that, and it's also you're kind of an insatiable attention whore who's just constantly seeking fame on mildly popular live streams, and you can't get enough of it.
I mean, that was a little bit more on the nose than you intended it to be.
Ever since you didn't have the CBS platform, you've just been needing that outlet.
Man.
People need their Gretsch, man.
Yeah, I mean, I like to have somewhere to get some takes off. You know, I've had long stretches in my fantasy career where I wasn't potting, and it's like, man, I got some takes I want to get off.
Do you got any takes to get off? This is your chance, Ben.
I mean, I want to. One thing I am going to write about, but Omni Fantasy and Top Shot have been killing me, taking all my time, especially Top Shot. No, is we're like in player comp season, and I hate player comps like with a passion.
I'm
like,
sorry for asking who Medvedev was like. That's my bad.
No. I mean, if you're gonna do like a range of potential comps or things like that, I think it makes a lot of sense. I guess this isn't what you did with Medvedev. Yeah, I hate that you did that with Medvedev. That's super. These cross-sport comps. No, but like people, the issue with player comps, my biggest issue, these I think the biggest potential advantage that they can provide. Oh, I got a beer delivery.
Look at this. This guy's having the time of his life. Don't let anyone tell you differently.
Said, bring a beer when I'm having fun on this. You probably won't need to bring one.
The biggest potential advantage or the benefit, right, is that I think is because no one's saying like this guy's going to be this guy or have this guy's career, because that's what always ends up being pushed back. If you compare somebody to a star, then it's like, what do you like? I compared Kyle Pitts to Calvin Johnson on the stream. It was the first time we were looking at highlights. It's the first time I came up with it. I tweeted it. I wrote in the tweet, I think comps are stupid. This is blasphemy, but Kyle Pitts film reminds me of Calvin Johnson. And I still got people that were like, bro, you crazy. You think he's Calvin Johnson? What do you think? Like, no, I don't think he's Calvin Johnson. I think he plays similar to him. So the best advantage is maybe he plays similar to a guy. But even that provides zero value because there could be marginal differences about them that to dictate whether they're successful or failures. I think anyone, sorry, Pat, but I just think any style of player at the NFL level, there are examples of success and there are examples of failure. Literally any style of player. And we sit there and we comp to usually the successful ones, but it's marginal stuff that makes guys good in the NFL level. We can put guys in buckets. We can put guys in a range of potential outcomes. We can figure out things that improve the hit rate. But when we make these one-on-one comps, it's doing zero good. There's nothing about it that is positive unless you're just saying he could be a schematic fit similar to this player. But nothing about the player's success or failure or hit rate should be tied to a player comp, in my opinion, at all.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pat.
I kind of like them because. But here's what I'll say. I kind of like player comps, but I hate like the player comp Twitter discussion, and the people saying like, how dare you compare Kyle Pitts to Calvin Johnson stuff is so stupid. But I like the stylistic comps. It just helps me as someone who doesn't watch a ton of college football. When I watch these guys, that's kind of something I'm trying to think through. Like, who do they remind me of, just so I can sort of grasp onto them a little bit more.
But you're doing that in an intelligent way. Like I do it too. I mean, I did it with Pitts and Calvin Johnson. You're describing what I did with Pitts and Calvin Johnson. Yeah. I think that's just normal. You're not making a mistake of like saying, like making any additional comp, right? Like literally it has to stop right there. Stylistically, he's similar to this player.
Right. Well, and you can go ahead, Pete. Sorry.
No, I was just going to, I was doing a little bit more macro view. Like I was illustrating when I asked like, who is Medvedev like in the NFL? Because it immediately gives me some frame of reference.
Right.
And that's why people love them. Because if I know nothing about Kyle Pitts and Gretsch tells me he has some Calvin Johnson to his game, I don't go, he's Calvin Johnson. I go, oh, he's this big dude that's an athletic freak that makes a lot of plays that other people can't make, has a 6'5" frame, that's where mine goes. And I'm like, that's super helpful for me. And then what happens that there's assholes who are in the weeds and have watched 100 hours of Kyle Pitts tape. They're like, well, actually, he doesn't do this like him. And Gretsch was like, I'm just trying to give you, it's basically like talking in code. I can just give you a code word and help you get to 90% of the way there of what his play style is.
So that's the one advantage to them. And I was saying that from the top, but I still think that can be sketchy because we always compare him to, I was kind of saying this, we always compare him to a successful version of that player. And especially when you get into these situations where you're talking about lower hit rate classes of players, like underweight receivers, small receivers, and we're comparing them to one or two actually successful small receivers, you're basically saying like, oh, this is a really positive, ceiling potential for an archetype, a type of player that typically actually doesn't succeed. So you're I don't know, you're putting him into a bucket that seems successful when it's not.
Yeah, you're kind of overstating his chances of success by assigning the comp in some ways. But
like an outlier.
Yeah, like an outlier.
Yeah.
So like Michael Carter is a guy, that's kind of interesting. And I replied on Twitter that, he kind of looks like young Giovanni Bernard. But to me, it's like, who else, like Giovanni Bernard also looked like Ray Rice, who that's like the huge upside scenario. And he also looked like Zach Stacy. And then he also looked like a bunch of guys who aren't in the league. So it's just kind of to give you an idea of what these guys are like. And as I'm trying to like learn a lot, I'm basically cramming on this stuff and trying to get all these guys in my mind and sort of start to envision how they're going to actually look on an NFL football field. I try to think of them.
Honestly, like to a certain degree, I mean, it matters once we know the landing spot, but some of these guys are successful because they're not comparable. Like so many if you go backward, so many of the guys, like Justin Jefferson, who were we comping him to last year? I don't even know. I don't care because now I know he's Justin Jefferson. We watched him for 1 year, and he's Justin Jefferson to me now. He's not some version of someone else. The big thing I was concerned about was could he play outside or whatever, and it was great to see that he played outside more his sophomore year before moving into inside, and his team share, his market share was good in both. It seemed like he could play both spots, but all these concerns about is he just a slot receiver, this, that, and everything. Like, none of that stuff ends up mattering when you watch the guy for 1 year. Now he's Justin Jefferson to you. DK Metcalf was Julio Jones, right? Everyone wanted to comp him to Julio Jones. DK Metcalf is nothing like Julio Jones other than physically. Like he's not a smooth route runner.
Yeah, that's true.
Julio Jones is. He doesn't have the type of body control Julio Jones has. DK Metcalf is very, very good. I don't want to sit here and talk about the things he can't do because he can do a ton of things really, really well. He may be better than Julio Jones in a lot of ways, including probably using his physicality. But they're just not even that similar of a player. Their like movements are not similar. Their body size is similar, but like I would never compare these two receivers now that I watch them both, other than size.
Yeah, but it still gave you a similar bet profile, right? He's a big outside wide receiver. He's going to have good draft position. He's a little raw coming in. And if he develops the tools, he could be a total smash. Like, that comp was helpful. even though it doesn't necessarily, because these guys are their own individual players, they're going to be highly unique, but it's still helpful to help you grasp what type of bet you're making. Like,
Pat just cut out there.
I was like, he's gonna stick this. He's gonna stick.
He's gonna stick the landing.
wait, what happened?
You froze.
Oh, I don't know where I froze, but I was saying that last year I compared T. Higgins to Laquan Treadwell, and not officially, but that's just like as I would talk it out, I'd be like, he profiles similarly to Laquan Treadwell, but he also looks like a guy who could have a really, really high ceiling. So right. It's just, but to me, it's like I was saying that to sort of like check myself on, like, this is a boom bust guy, and here's the bust version of that. Another guy who was a first round pick. Like, if you compare people to Laquan Treadwell, they're like, you're an asshole. It's like, he was a first round pick.
Is DK? You're talking about for DK? Like, I don't know. I guess to me, the DK Metcalf Julio thing, like, literally should not be made. Like, I cannot picture DK Metcalf making any of the types of receptions Julio's made throughout his career. Like, think of the one in the Super Bowl. Julio Jones has phenomenal body control, ball skills. Those are not DK Metcalf's strengths. He has strengths, tons of them, but like, he's not. I would call him like a slightly below average receiver in terms of ball skills. Like, he's a little bit clunky sometimes when he catches the ball. That's fine.
He drops balls
at a high rate. He uses his physicality well. He does a lot of things well. That's fine. But he's not a receiver like Julio Jones in those ways. I don't think he plays the sideline as well as Julio does with the toe taps and things like that. Like that, Julio is like DeAndre Hopkins level with that stuff. Like, these guys are not similar to me, other than the fact that they're similar size. And that's what I think often these comps come down to, is we just shove, size into each other. These guys are the same size. They look similar. But whether or not DK goes on to be as good as Julio or not, like, they're different players. And I don't know. I just don't even like – I don't think there's a lot of value to comparing him other than saying this is the size he is. Like Pete was saying, a really initial thing, like, look, Kyle Pitts is big like Calvin Johnson. I think that's fine. But, like, anything beyond that gets sketchy to me.
Yeah. And I mean, I do ultimately, too, the reason comps get used a lot is it's like a marketing thing. Comps are the equivalent of the clickbait headline, and then you have the nuance of their specific skill set in the body of the article, right? But it's the comp that drives people in. Okay, you tell me Kyle Pitts is like Calvin Johnson. All right, I want to learn more because this sounds really intriguing. And so naturally, clickbait is going to be hyperbolic. Naturally, player comps are going to be hyperbolic because that's what pulls people in to find out more.
I don't use player comps in my writing. So to that extent, I agree with you, Ben, because it's really hard to communicate what you're trying to communicate once you start introducing player comps. Like, if you're writing about a prospect and you mention another player, it's going to screw up what you're trying to write about.
Right. Immediately, the reader's thinking that player's entire career, right? Like, everything about him. And that's the issue. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, it is, for sure. And, like, you're talking about some of the holes in DK Metcalf's game, and, he's he'll have hit or miss weeks and stuff. And I'm like, Amari Cooper's popping in my head, right? But if you compared him to Amari Cooper,
that's actually a really good comp in my mind. Yeah, like, that's great because he's still good. Amari Cooper is very, very good, but he has a little bit of like some legitimately below average traits in certain ways.
But if you compare DK Metcalf to Amari Cooper, you'd get crucified.
Yeah, they'd be like, what are you talking about? They're not similar receivers at all.
Yeah. So, but I think that's kind of interesting in some ways, and in certain ways, like, that would also be sort of a helpful heuristic to go into DK Metcalf as a prospect. Once they're in the league, to me, it matters not at all, because now we have NFL tape on them, we have NFL stats on them. Just trying to understand, like, who this guy is, and like an inconsistent outside wide receiver is like, okay, who's going to have a bunch of big weeks and some really crappy weeks or whatever. Like, that would be helpful to know what you're drafting. Like, you're just trying to get information of, like, what am I actually drafting when I select this prospect who's never played a game.
And that's also, isn't that why the RotoViz tools are so good? Because it shows you a list of players with similar comparables, and there's some studs in there. You'll get the Julio Jones, and then you'll also get the guy who I'm blanking on who flamed out as well, and it sets more realistic expectations. Like, this is the ceiling, and this is the floor. He has these tools to be any of these things. We have no idea which one of those he's going to become.
You're thinking either David Boston or Stephen Hill.
Exactly. There we go. Stephen Hill. That was the one I think I was looking for.
Stephen Hill was a big guy, right? Big receivers.
Yeah. Big receiver. Yeah, he was the Demaryius Thomas and the Calvin Johnson version who didn't work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought you might have been going all the way back to David Boston.
Well, I mean,
David Boston's the original.
One of my original, it was like my second or third year playing Dynasty and a star, like Dante Moncrief. Like he had Julio Jones measurables, you know, 6'3", 220, blazing speed. You know, it's like, how could this guy fail? Well, newsflash, they can fail.
Yeah, I mean, what we know is there's a lot of stuff about the wide receiver position and about, frankly, all of NFL that we can't quantify. We know that. Even the best metrics that we can build at any position leave a lot of unexplained variance. There is a lot of stuff that is hard to quantify, and people can sit there and talk to you all you want about how, like, Keenan Allen, even though he was a terrible athlete, he succeeds because he's a great route runner. But we can't quantify. Maybe Keenan Allen is a top 1% route runner of all time, of any wide receiver ever. We don't know that. He probably is, but we don't know that. So like at that point, you wouldn't compare him to anyone, right? Like you wouldn't want anyone compared to him because he's winning because he's so amazing. It is such a next level thing that no one else can replicate that. And if they can't replicate that, if they're just a half step slower, the athleticism might kill him, right? Like that's sort of my point. It's such a tricky thing. I do think, Pete, your point about them being sort of a necessary evil and clickbait is totally true. I use them in my writing. Like I hate them because they are necessary. At CBS we had to have them for every comp. It is like a necessary part of it. For every prospect profile we did last year, I wanted to get rid of them, and I lost out on that because it is necessary to a wider audience to have that. And so you can go look up my prospect articles last year. Every single one has player comps, like multiple player comps. And I mean, I'm sitting here ragging on it, but I'm a hypocrite. Is my point.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's the same thing. The other thing about it too, and just in general, this is more speaking to the backlash of player comps. Another analogy I have.
Yeah, that's why. That's what I don't like about it.
Right, and to me, it's like if you read an article about something, the analogy I use, I remember when Jay Caspian Kang wrote an article about DFS in the New York Times. And I was like picking holes. I was like, oh, you're misconstruing this. Like, oh, this is an appropriate representation, blah, blah. Like I saw all the holes in it. Whereas then how many, like if I read an article about fracking, I'm just like, oh, this is all true. Like, yeah, I believe all this. And I think the same thing happens with player comps where if you don't know any better, you're like, oh, that's helpful. That makes sense. He's kind of like this player. And then if you're really in the weeds, you're like, well, actually, it's nothing like this whatsoever. Like
I would flip that.
How?
This is actually my concern. I would flip that because I think your point is a great one. But the thing about reading about fracking, I think so much of our industry is reading about fantasy football similarly. It's just a hobby to them. They don't know that player comps aren't reliable. They don't know that athleticism doesn't matter to wide receivers. They don't know that
I think it does, but it's priced into draft position.
Okay, well, yeah, but they don't know any of that nuance. And so when they read the player comp, they end up just clicking the article, and the only thing that sticks with them is a player comp. And then later on, they're like, I was told Kyle Pitts was going to be the next Calvin Johnson. That's all they take out of it, because on its face, if you're comparing the player, that's what
That's very good.
That was good.
On its face, when you're comparing the player directly, it is it can be a holistic, like I guess that's the right word. I don't know if that's the right way to use holistic. Holistic, comparison or expectation for the player, unless every time you use a player comp, you're literally explaining, like Pat said, these are the only areas that I'm comping. It becomes so hard in your writing to actually acknowledge what you're comping and what you're not.
Yeah, that's why I don't use them, because I'm not also like watching tape to get a sense of like, is this route running similar to this guy or this guy or this guy and blah, blah, blah. Like, does he body position like this? Dude, that's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to look at numbers that have proven to be pretty predictive and then base the vast majority of my decision on that, and then trying to go through and look at some context. Like the guys I find most interesting are guys like Jefferson, where you're like, he played a little bit below where we want, but he actually had really good market share the year before the offense blew up, and he had pretty good market share playing alongside this kid Jamar Chase, who everyone's really excited about. So you get to add that additional context, but that's not tape context. It's just kind of common sense.
It's the right stuff that matters. And so this is sort of this will be my kind of my final point. But if we do care to a degree about the readers learning about how to do this and like making them smarter and acknowledging that some of them are reading about it like it's fracking, like they care, they're playing in high level leagues, but they aren't in the weeds like we are, then what Pat does is literally exactly what you should do. You should remove the player comp and focus on the parts that actually matter. So when they read it, they learn this is how I'm supposed to analyze a player, right? Like these statistics matter. These Pat's frozen with his eyes closed now.
Just thinking about what you're saying, Ben. It's really good.
But yeah, I mean, like if you write it that way, you are teaching them not only, what's important for that individual player, but how to think about the player. As soon as you throw in the player comp, you're potentially leading them astray. I don't know. I think most analysis would be better off without the comps. I
also think that when you throw in the player comp, that's maybe when they stop reading too. Like, let's be honest. It's like I got to the part that I wanted to see. Oh, this guy's
that's
Calvin
all they
Johnson.
take.
Cool. All right, moving on. Let's get to the next guy. It's like you're able to take a shortcut.
And don't you think, in general, the bastardization of player comps is probably more common on Twitter than articles? Like, I know it happens in articles, but it's normally brevity constraints are an issue. They're trying to get reactions, elicit stuff.
It ruins Twitter.
It ruins
I'm
Twitter.
fully with Ben on that.
Because
Twitter comp season sucks.
Because if you have an article, at least if you're making a comp, you have to buttress your points with like evidence and say why Kyle Pitts is like Calvin Johnson. On Twitter, you can just say it and then run away.
Yeah. And like I think they're interesting to talk about. I found Ben's discussion of DK Metcalf versus Julio Jones, and that's really interesting to me. I like talking about them, but yeah, in terms of like the Twitter discourse, they're not great.
Yeah. I mean, you could say that about a lot. Most Twitter discourse is not great. Yeah. I mean, there's so much. I mean, it's hilarious to think. That's why, like, I'm thankful. Like on Twitter, most people know my tone when I send a tweet. Like people know my tone, but I think there's a lot of people who like tone doesn't come through. People who aren't used to joking will like make a joke. And then people won't realize it's a joke. It's like, well, you don't really joke that often. So I have no fucking clue where you're coming from with this. I mean, Twitter's a disaster for and that's why I literally do not get in arguments on Twitter. Like once, maybe every 6 months, I'll like do a little back and forth, but it's like, it is not a productive place to have good conversations.
No. There was a question here from Chris about Freeman and Chase.
Let me pull that up.
Devonta Smith, excuse me, and Chase. And I mean, to me, this is like, I think going to be one of the spots where I'm off from consensus more than anywhere else in this class, where just like, I don't think I'll own Devonta Smith.
I think everybody's on Chase.
Yeah, I think everybody's on Chase, but I don't think. To me, the more interesting question is Rashad Bateman versus Devonta Smith. And maybe
this is where you're going to get off consensus.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's not an interesting question from like a who should I actually take, because if Bateman goes in the second round, I think very clearly he's the better pick no matter where Devonta Smith goes. But that will not be a popular opinion. So I did want to check in with you guys to see if you're starting to develop any hot takes on Devonta Smith at all, because he's setting up kind of to be one of these like analytics versus tape guys.
I don't have. He's somebody that I probably would be lower on, but I will have a little bit higher, just out of like a little bit of deferring to tape or whatever, and then a little bit of deferring to the fact that he was their most productive receiver on an offense that had a lot of good talent, right? Not just this past year, but the year before. He was better than Judy and Waddle and Ruggs, right? And so I think there are some some reasons to think from a market share perspective, obviously, that there was so much talent around him that he was not as good as he could have been the year before this past one. And then this past one, he was obviously phenomenal. But yeah, I'm way more excited about the Chases and the Batemans and even Rondale Moore.
Yeah, Rondale Moore is another guy.
I want to take those guys more.
Yeah.
What's a good comp for Rondale Moore?
Steve Smith.
Steve Smith's the one that's going around. It's a good one.
I'll draft Steve Smith in the first round of one of my drafts. I love it. Let's do it. A guy that owns Denny and puts up stats on the football field. I love it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting with Smith because I just think he's not going to really get out of the top 5 picks in non-super flex. So
then I
probably won't own him.
He might. You don't think he will? Ruggs did.
Ruggs didn't win the Heisman.
Yeah. But he was the first receiver drafted in the NFL draft, and I still saw him go like 112 after that. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, but he wasn't productive in college. Judy was the more heralded guy, that year on Alabama that came out.
Are you guys thinking that the pendulum might swing too far in the other direction on Devonta Smith to where he might actually be a value? Or you think the hype is going to keep it in?
I'm leaving that possibility open in my mind is basically where I've been trying to get to with my answer, but I'm probably going to be on Pat's side where I'm going to be taking a harder stance being off him than pretty much anywhere else in the class.
I think a lot would have to happen, but he's going to get drafted really high. He's going to get drafted in the first 15 picks in the NFL draft. Like, that's a certainty. He could get drafted much higher than that. So at that point, like,
what do you think
he won the Heisman, he gets drafted highly.
Like, what do you think he actually runs if he would have ran in a combine? What do you think he would have clocked in at? Like, what would be your guess?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, he's like 175, so he better run 4.4 something.
Yeah.
But
he's definitely fast.
What do we? I'm clearly so out of the loop. Like, how are they going to have like a set day where everyone's doing their pro days? Like, how are they doing the amalgam of the combine this year?
They're doing like more official pro days. Is basically how it's going to go.
All right. There goes Pat again. He has had some good still frames.
I know he kept trying to like blame it on my internet connection. I was like, dude, you're the one that's dropping off.
No, I wasn't blaming it. I was asking if you guys could still hear me.
I was hoping I could get that one off while you're still frozen.
Right? No, I come back for the batch. I have a setting on my internet. If you guess start talking shit, it immediately comes back.
I could get that take off while you're still frozen.
No.
Perfect timing.
He
activated. Like
Pat's completely frozen. I'm like, Pat's a big piece of shit. And he's like, well, fuck you.
That's not cool, man. Yeah, I don't know.
He runs a really good time. I think that'll ensure he goes top 15 because teams care about that so much.
How fast would he have to run to change what your evaluation is of him?
I don't think it could.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. He'd have to run a 4.2 something for me to be like, okay.
Ruggs did, and it didn't make Ruggs. I mean, Ruggs could still be very good. Let's be real, but didn't have the best rookie season, and could have. The opportunity was there. Nelson Aguilar was smashing, like down the field where Ruggs should have been smashing.
Yeah, well, yeah. Where do we think Ruggs goes in drafts this year?
I probably won't have him anywhere.
He feels like
mid-season in a dynasty, thinking I could deal him again in the offseason, and I'm hoping I still can.
I think he'll probably go in that like Paris Campbell-y type of range.
That sounds
from
right.
This last year.
12th, 13th round.
Yeah, I think so. N'Keal Harry-ish.
The thing with Ruggs is we knew he wasn't super productive at Alabama. He wasn't like an alpha or whatever. He kind of took a back seat to the other guys, even though he was explosive and very fast and all that. But the concern was he's more of an asset to an NFL offense than to fantasy. And what we saw this past year was an extension of that. I mean, he didn't earn targets. That matters so much. Like, I'm now very pessimistic about the rest of his career. So I don't probably want to take him even at a 12th, 13th round price tag. If you're going to be a deep threat, you got to earn targets. You have to be Deshaun Jackson. You have to be good at getting open. Again, Nelson Aguilar was earning downfield targets for them and producing because Ruggs wasn't. He played a lot. He ran a lot of routes. He didn't do very well.
Yeah. I'm a little bit more optimistic on Ruggs than you are. He came into the league super young. He's got good size, good physical tools that at least kind of back up where he was drafted. And God, he could be used more creatively. I don't think it's going to happen under Gruden, but it certainly should happen. And, you could get a lot of production out of him just by using him smarter. And I think, we see wide receivers all the time in their second year take a huge leap forward. And there was a role in that offense for Nelson Aguilar to do basically exactly what we were hoping Henry Ruggs would do. And so if he does take that leap forward, there's a role for him. So if he's going to get priced at...
Why wasn't he the guy last year doing that? That's what I don't get.
Well, he's 21 years old. I don't think we can write him off for not immediately crushing. Because if he was in that Aguilar role, he'd be like a third-round dynasty pick. We would be really excited for Henry Ruggs if he was in that Nelson Aguilar role. So
yeah,
I just think it's too early to say for sure. You need to get him at a price where that downside risk that you identify, which is very real, is mostly baked in, and you're getting kind of a bet that's tilted to the upside. But I think you're getting that if he goes in that kind of Paris Campbell type of N'Keal Harry type of range.
I love that comp. Ruggs is the John
What are
Morant.
Ruggs top for those to go for? I hear John Morant's a big buy in the Top Shot lane.
Not anymore, dude. He is priced up.
Yeah, if you want to know, I was talking about this with Pat earlier, though, Gresh, we had a boom in the Top Shot market for all these rookies, all rookies. And, a couple of them, it does seem like are going to be studs, obviously, LaMelo and stuff. But every one of these rookies were mooning. And it reminded me of dynasty drafts where it's the overconfidence on every single rookie in those top 15, 16 picks is crazy. And the actual probabilities of them turning into long-term fantasy contributors is 10%, 15%, for just playing the probabilities. But we are so naturally attracted to youth and potential, and we just chase it at all costs.
Even in a market where they no one knew existed 3 months ago, that's highly, highly speculative. Within that market, people want to chase the unknowns. It's just human nature.
There were moments where maybe the fifth best rookie in the class was going for more than Chris Paul's first moment on the site was going for. Who's 100% lock Hall of Famer. It's just but it happens in Dynasty, right? It's a slightly different because I
think it's sort of correct in Dynasty, and I actually think that not to put back to Top Shot, but I think there's. If you're willing to sell those guys, it makes sense.
We draft a lot of rookies in this trio of drafters. We
I know, but the key is to keep churning them, right? And take advantage of the year-long window to exit, even when they don't pan out. You have the information to know it, but the market hasn't caught up to the reality of what they put on paper.
And I think that's how it'll work in Top Shot too, where you do want exposure to those rookies because everyone's going to want them. And then you're probably going to want to churn out. And if you just think that you can just kind of hold these guys forever, it's not going to work out the same way it doesn't work out in Dynasty. So I think that's one area that
but certainly at a point that can be overpriced, and it might be overpriced in Top Shot, right? It could be. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think in certain areas it is.
Yeah.
The thing that's different from Top Shot and Dynasty is, in a sense, you're getting dividends on your Dynasty assets because they're putting up production for you on the field. In Top Shot, you're not getting dividends on the guys you're holding. So it makes more sense to cash out on Buzz earlier, I think, in Top Shot than it does in Dynasty.
That does make sense.
Well, you don't have roster spots in Top Shot.
Well,
so
if you've seen my bank account, I might be running out of roster spots.
Pete's running out of roster spots. Oh, that's good. We should just use that.
These analogies,
how many roster spots
they're too applicable.
Yeah.
I'm sure all of our wives would appreciate if we went back to playing in $75 year-long dynasty leagues instead of spending thousands of dollars on digital collectibles.
In some ways, I think this is more responsible because I honestly do. I think on some level,
I can't wait for this take.
When you do a slow auction dynasty draft and it sucks up a week of your life, and can you guys see me? Did I freeze?
No, we got you.
You're going.
Next up, a year of your life. Now you're frozen. Now you're not. Just talk, Pat.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry. Okay, I couldn't hear you that whole time.
You had to check the Top Shot market for a quick second.
All right. God damn it. My internet connection is just killing me. Brooklyn's killing me right now. When you do a slow auction draft and you can't do anything else but check your bids constantly, and it sucks up all of your time, and there's $100 buy-in on that auction draft, and then you have no realistic chance of making a lot of money from that league, it's just sucking up your time. Like your time, the value of your time is so low. Your hourly rate that you've given yourself is so low that I think on some level it is more responsible to spend money on top.
No, but I'll push back on that because it's a hobby. You're getting entertainment value out of it. The guy that's going bird watching isn't like, the value of my time is not spent like waiting for this, warbler to fly by, right? Like you're doing it because you enjoy it. Did Pat freeze again? Or was my take just not landing?
I'm waiting for his response.
Well, you froze for that whole point. All I heard was bird watching.
Extrapolate it. It's a good.
All right, I'll respond. I'll respond as if I heard the whole thing. The difference is, Pete, that I'm having the most fun I've ever had playing Top Shot. So there's no way that you can say somehow I'm like sacrificing fun for this. It's more responsible because I'm having a great time and because I'm having even more fun.
I'll respond like I heard the whole point. That's my favorite line. I'll respond like I heard the whole point.
That sounds like someone who's about to reply angrily on Twitter. I'll respond like I heard the whole point, but I didn't.
Did I actually make a salient response or not?
Well, my overall point with all this stuff, and I actually do think it is relevant, is what people get out of things is very different. And you see a lot of the criticisms on Twitter of all this stuff of like, oh, it's like a Ponzi scheme or people can't withdraw their money. It's like, what if you're just having fun with it and you enjoy collecting and you're not actually looking to like flip something or to cash out? Like, are you actually considering that viewpoint of like the different types of equities you're getting out of this stuff? Like we all have exhausted insane amounts of time on fantasy football to where if you actually calculated our hourly rate, it would be painfully just stupid, the hourly rate on the time. But we did it because we had fucking fun doing it.
Yeah. I think that is something that if you're a bear on Top Shot, I think you should think about a little bit. Consider that viewpoint because people like collecting. It's, kind of going back to what I was saying before about just collecting stuff. Like there is a well-established market and love of collecting cards and sports memorabilia. And this system allows you to trade that very, very quickly. And that's really fucking fun. It's really fun. So regardless of whether or not you make any money doing this, it would be a lot less fun if my account hadn't gone up and stuff, obviously. But it's like, it's just it's a fun platform. I think
that's a really good
this
question.
Isn't something that people are just going to swear off forever because they're having a lot of fun doing it.
Would you be having as much fun? Would you be spending anywhere close to the amount of time if you had not made nearly as much money?
No,
if it was
because I don't watch the NBA. So 100% no. But for the NFL, I think I would probably be better at that. Even in a much less bullish market, I would still be able to find edges on the NFL, or at least I would think I could, because I spent a lot of.
He's full David Kitchen tonight, Gretch.
I think I know where he's gonna go with this.
Yeah.
He spends a lot of time. Like we can respond as if
Ben
we
got
heard
my
the
point, so I won't make that point again. So yeah.
We can respond as if we heard it.
Watching, we get it.
Yeah. It's like with the NFL, it would be fun to do that because I'm already invested so much in the NFL, and I think I could probably find small edges. With this, there's like the edges doing it. That's the edge, and that's really fun. But
don't needle Ben by saying the edge is doing it.
Well, the edge is doing it.
Do you guys think that still applies? Do you think?
No. So I do want to say
should get in right now.
I do want to say something about
not
this.
Like this second.
This concept of would you be like loving and as infatuated with Top Shot if you weren't making money? Like one variable control is I signed up for the stupid Street Fighter NFTs and my account value is actually up, but it was such a chore, and like the way to navigate the site and interact with these packs of cards was so cumbersome that it was not enjoyable whatsoever. It felt like a chore. And there was something about the Top Shot site that is so intuitive, so easy to use and understand that made it really addictive. So even though there's areas where you can make, good money elsewhere, like if it doesn't have that simplicity factor, I don't think it's because I'm not like, I don't do any retail investing. I don't do any of that like whatsoever. Like I know there's other opportunities for me to make money, but there's something about Top Shot that is just super fun and easy to use. That doesn't answer the question of would I be enjoying it if like the market was in a bear run. But honestly, right now, I believe in it so much. I want the market to crash. I want to be able to buy things cheap now because I don't want to buy anything because it feels so expensive.
Yeah, and if you're doing this, then I think another sort of way to help yourself think through this is like, do I have so much money in that if I was losing money every day for a week, I would be having a really, really bad time. Then you have too much money in. Like you want to have enough money into where you could absorb weeks of like a downswing and you're not gutted. Because this is highly speculative. We don't know what's going to happen.
And the other thing too, this actually is helping crystallize how I think about this stuff because I've had a long period with Bitcoin. I've talked about where I have my weekly buys, and there has been a long stretch for like a year and a half where there's no buzz on Bitcoin, no buzz on crypto. It's just hovering or whatever. And I was just putting into it because I believed in it. And so I'm getting value there, making like long-term investments. And then there's the other concept on the pole of just having a ton of fun. Like you're just in something and you're having fun with it. And so I think I will be able to withstand a Top Shot bear market because I believe in the product, in the concept. And so I think go ahead, Ben. I'm rambling.
No. I also had someone tell me to make weekly buys on Bitcoin around that time. And I didn't do that either. I think I'm just the dad that is a little bit too cautious right now, and especially in an industry where it's fun to be speculative.
Well, Ben, like on one level, I really respect it because like I sort of was you for like 3 days. Pete jumped right in, and I was like, I don't know. Let me think about it. And then I was watching the Swolecast and they're like talking about it and they're having a great time and it's completely taken over their show. And then I realized like, this seems too much fun. I want to do it. And then it got me. And now now I'm so in, but I'm like, why did I hesitate? So, like, I think you actually have like you sat out way longer than I ever could. And I think sitting out shows some strength where like I'm like I just hesitated when I knew I was going to jump in probably anyway.
Yeah, I think I was just more bearish. Like I said earlier, when it started to dip, I think I would have been selling at that point. So I don't even know that I would have realized all these gains. It's kind of the same thing I tell myself with Bitcoin. Everyone likes to kind of present themselves as millionaires on all these investments and everything, but the reality is a lot of people buy and sell at different places and maybe get in really late, and then they like to tweet about it. Like I'm specifically referencing Bitcoin. Top Shot, I guess, is a little different because it's just been.
And you're specifically referencing Davis Matic.
But I think it's yeah. Anyway, this is a fun show. We sandwiched two Top Shot conversations with me getting my take of I hate comps in the middle of it.
Yeah, I'm glad I threw the prospect conversation there for you, Ben, as I thought that wasn't for Pete. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I will say the thing too, to reiterate, if anyone's watching this and haven't gotten in on it, you are perfectly justified in not diving in. You will get hooked. It was I remember talking to my brother about it because he was interested, and I remember saying, like, you should get into it if you want, but it is a highly addictive platform. Like, just talking about literally how the chemicals fire in your brain, it is an addictive platform. And I put that caveat there. And anyone trying to preserve their time, I would not recommend it. That said, I would definitely push back on people who are like, oh, it's too late or whatever, because you can just go for packs and you don't have to go make outrageous buys in the market. Sign up for accounts, see if you get lucky and bank a pack, and then you will ultimately end up buying things. But at least when you started, it would be just with the packs.
Yeah, I think make an account and go after packs. Like, if you can control yourself. You know, if you don't have much time to spare.
Do they drop every day now?
No.
It's like every day.
They've been trying these. All of these have been stress tests. Basically, like, the two things they're optimizing. I
love how you talk about that like it's a common concept that.
Yeah, that's true. We're like those people. We're like the people that have been at a company for 5 years and we just drop all the acronyms.
Company lingo.
Yeah, we're like, well,
everyone says that on Twitter. These stress tests. I'm like, what the hell is a stress test? I've never.
We're trying to work our way through the new PAC-Q system. I don't know if you know what's going on. You're right. I'm glad you called me out on that. I said that as if everyone understood, like, a stress test.
But what is it? What's the point of that?
So, because so many of their early drops were like tech disasters, they had stuff where they were trying to implement a line, and anyone who had gone for the drop the night before was able to just cut the line and immediately buy a pack. Meanwhile, everyone else was waiting to get put into line. Then they had to pause it because, 1,300 people automatically bought one of these $1,000 coveted packs. So they've had all these issues. So they're trying to get their tech up to speed to handle the volume of users. And they basically have two goals. They want to make the super, rare and legendary packs. They want to make sure the system's fair for those. And then for the base packs, they want those to be available on the site at all times. Like, ultimately, they want any random Joe to be able to just go on the site and buy a pack. And so those are, I think, the two things they're trying to optimize for right now.
Bale's kind of screwed them because
Jesus, Pat.
You had a great point coming. We got Bale's kind of screwed him because, and then he froze.
Because the site was not ready for the massive influx of the DFS community to come in like a week. And we all kind of staggered our way in, but we pretty much all got there. And the site just wasn't ready for that.
This is kitchen levels.
Good point, dude. Good point.
All right. I didn't want to do this, but I'm doing it. I'm switching to my phone.
We're an hour and 20 minutes into this episode. Should we just end it?
No. The people need to see my good internet.
We're getting cat parade again.
Cat parade. Oh my god!
Where did we put this goddamn link?
It's in the. I actually don't know. No, it's in our group chat. I'm just waiting to get the screenshot of two Pats.
Yeah, I know you are. I'll let you have it too.
Lou's telling you to go make your Omni pick. I do think I'm on the clock in a league too as well.
Oh, sorry, guys.
When packs.
Win pick.
How are your guys' leagues going? Where are you guys at in your draft? We were gonna check up on that. We got to the late 7th round now. There he is.
Got the best screenshot. Okay, now log off of your other one, Pat. Oh my god, Pat, I hope you're not upset at me posting a photo where you have a massive double chin.
Very bad angle.
Okay. Hang on. I'm tweeting this and then I'm going to share my screen. Oh my god, Pat. All right, you should log off for this one, Pat, because this is now I'm getting echo.
Okay, hang on.
Cat Crane is back.
Are you still like getting your headphones connected, Pat?
Yes.
This is so great. Why does everyone I do shows with have technical difficulties?
I use the same headphones for my phone as I do for the show, so.
I love how we're doing like a studio change an hour and 20 into the show. Like I don't even know what we're building up to right now.
I don't even remember the point he was making. It had something to do with Bales.
Oh yeah, it was that Bales screwed everyone screwed Top Shot by getting everyone in.
Oh no, yeah, that point wasn't important. Yeah, no, I was saying the site still isn't ready for the amount of people that are here. So, but now I'm more concerned about this double chin that's on the internet.
I'm more concerned with your audio quality right now.
Pat, honest to God, man, it's the least flattering picture I've ever seen of you. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Pat is incredibly photogenic, and this isn't his best moment.
Not your best moment.
God damn it, Pete.
What are we even doing?
You did him dirty with that one.
That's not great.
I'm sorry, Pat. I had to. I wasn't going for the double chin. It just happened like that.
Yeah, well, it didn't just happen, Pete. It's been a long year.
It's been yeah. It's all right, dude. I haven't gotten a zit in forever, and I have the fucking grossest lip zit right now. And I think I attribute it to Top Shot. It's really my only excuse.
I mean, I definitely break out when I'm just sitting staring at a screen at all hours of the day, not sleeping, not cleaning myself, not showering. Yeah, I imagine that's probably why you have a zit.
Probably.
I'm guessing you don't want to miss Top Shot long enough to take a shower before bed, and then you just fall asleep at your computer. So.
All right. Okay. I don't like this. How do you have lip zits with no lips?
Oh,
Zit chasing, stress test zit. Get out your jokes. It's open mic night, guys. Get your jokes up about my zit. Ben, are you gonna make a Top Shot account?
it seems inevitable, but it's really easy to just not. And save the time. I keep doing that. I mean, the last few times I told you guys with the Honor Fantasy Draft in our DM, but everyone was kind of sharing their spots in line. I was like, I wish I had a spot in line. I wish I knew if I got lucky enough to buy a pack. Like that'd be fun. I'll probably try. Let me know the next time. I mean, I gotta track it. I gotta figure out when the next time a pack drops. I gotta go from 0 to 60.
The reason I want you in on Top Shot, Ben, is because I know you'd be writing 30,000 word Substack articles about it, and I want to read those.
Yes. Because there's like some interesting things to think about as you kind of do stuff more. So I would also read that Substack article.
That is a Substack article I would read before.
You didn't read about our draft when Top Shot started. Probably haven't read any of the football articles since, but you would read the Top Shot article.
I read the Omni strategy one, your most recent one.
Boom.
And I could tell you everything you said back verbatim. No, yeah, it's the Omni drafts have been very fun. I'm enjoying them, and it's gonna be good to have that.
Wait, there's gonna be a rare. I'm seeing these messages. There's gonna be a rare pack drop that's gonna be like $200 for a pack.
He's in, folks.
That feels like a good entry point. That's where I want to jump in.
Yeah.
Are you being sarcastic?
No, I'm serious.
Okay.
I don't really want to get in line and waste time for a $12 pack that might not actually be that good.
Yeah, no, if you turn, I mean, the $99 pack, I want to say probably the cheapest of the Series 1 MGLEs right now is probably like $1,000. I haven't looked, but if it's anywhere close to that, you're looking at like an easy 10x if you get one of those packs. If it's $99.
If you get in and get one of the $100 packs, you're gonna get an easy 10x on that and make $1,000 just by getting the pack.
I believe so. If the $99 price is true, I would say that's a pretty fair estimate.
Because it's not. You don't just get that card at that moment. You're gonna get. Is it gonna be 2 more or 4 more?
I think I saw in there that it's like 4 or 5 base moments with the MGLE moment.
Yeah.
And you have upside for more with serial and in specific
if
player.
you hit a really good card.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. I just want to gamble on a really good card.
There you go. Ben, who is your guy? Do you have an NBA player that you like that's not like LeBron?
Ray Allen.
he's got a
I'm
cool
a Seattle guy, man. When the Sonics were still here, I used to go to games all the time. When they left, I didn't like intentionally be like, oh, screw the NBA. But I just like when you don't have a hometown team to watch every night. And I the last time they were good, I remember I went to 9 home games out of 41. They made a run in the postseason. Ray Allen, Rashard Lewis, that team, they had Danny Fortson. They were sweet. If we had Top Shots in 2005, I would be crushing.
Are you out on Heat Ray Allen though?
They still have Ray Allen clips. Ooh.
So they have the run it back Ray Allen dunk here. And if you have 8K of loose change kicking around,
it's a Shuttlesworth.
There you go, man.
That's a good one. I like it.
Nate, what's another player you like, Ben?
Oh man, dude, I genuinely don't watch a lot of NBA.
So do you dislike?
I like Jokic for sure.
Okay.
I like big dude that can pass. Yeah, man.
Yeah, Jokic he's fun.
Ja Morant, sweet. I watch more college basketball than NBA, so some of those dudes that were sweet in college, Morant was really cool in the NCAA tournament last year. Some guys like that I like.
Chris pumps his BAM bags more than anyone I've ever seen pump their own moments.
I don't mind it.
Yeah, I wonder why, Pat. Yeah, Jokic is a fun
Probably
one.
Steph too. Oh, and Damian Lillard. I like dudes that can hit big shots.
Dude, the Lillard base moment dunk is so sick. I love this dunk. Let me pull it up.
I like most of the 90s kids, I was an MJ fan, right? And Lillard to me is the guy, Dame time is pretty legit to me. Oh, that's a sweet moment.
It's such a sick dunk.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The flex at the end is so good.
Yeah, that's a fun moment.
What are your thoughts on Lillard, Pete, on here? Because he doesn't seem to command that big of a premium.
Yeah, I like him. I like him a lot. I mean, I love these bases right here. Series 1 dunk, MGLE dunk, and then the cosmic.
I love that you
dunk.
guys have so much money in your account. You're just like, yeah, I'm probably gonna buy this $3,000 card. Like, I'm not gonna buy a $3,000 card anytime soon. I might try to get a pack, but
I'm not buying anything soon.
That's not how I would get in. I mean, you're not gonna have a good time buying like one $3,000 card and then praying,
No.
but every hour after you buy it, that it goes up. Like that sounds like a bad time, So, like why do that? So, yeah, it's just kind of a different thing. Where if you have, and that's why I think making sales is a big part of it.
I think Van Vliet's pretty sweet. I liked him at Wichita State. You got I was kind of surprised he didn't go higher in the NBA. I think he was a second-round pick, right? I don't know NBA well, but I was like, man, this guy's got like the it factor, if you will. I think he was Wichita State, right? And then they made a couple runs when he was there. And so anyway, you've been Pete Van Fleet or whatever.
Yeah. Do you know what? But like, I'm not going to FOMO anything here. I mean, I have a shit ton of Van Vliets, but I don't. It's really tilting me right now because I've been very purposeful about going after base moments. And I have 3 of these 5, and I have 0 Fred Van Vliet base moments. I do not have the Handle Series 1 or the MGLE. Like, how is that possible? How did I not get one of the base set before we mooned? I'm sick to my stomach. Absolutely sick to my stomach.
So is base set just like the early packs?
It's
there. How much were those packs? This $1,300 card early on.
Oh, I see. I wasn't even around in the Top Shot days when these ones were released.
Oh, okay.
I assume the base packs were $9 then as well. But when I say base, I'm talking about their first moment on the site.
Okay.
So like when you go to, it's actually interesting for someone like Kevin Durant, because he wasn't playing last year, right? So like his first moment on the site is this Run It Back series. But if you go to like back to Damian, the first moment on the site is across this series. So there's the Cosmics, which are out of 49, the Rares out of 299, and then the first series 1, the base common moment was out of 1433. So now when the series 2 comes out, they cap those at 15,000. So there was a jump in the base moments from 1433, roughly, some of them are different for various reasons, to 15,000. And then when this series 3 or whatever, these next series come out, like you're going to have 100,000 mints for some of these players just to meet the demand. But yeah, these 3 moments are the first moment on the site.
Which means none of those are going to have any upside. If there's 100,000.
The new, like, yeah, I mean, ultimately those are supposed to be like, you go to the card store and you get a random pack and like 95% of it is worth nothing.
Yeah.
But they're going to be giving out these tags to these moments. Like if it's a guy's first moment on the site or their first NBA game. And so I think ultimately those first moments and those first plays are going to end up, people are going to value those because it's going to help it differentiate it from the rest of their plays. And you can see the price is already baked in. Like these are the series 2 moments, a couple 103, 308. Then you go to series 1. This is a Handle 1730. So this is series 1, but this isn't his first moment on the site. You go to his first moment on the site, the dunk, now we're up to 2,800. So like the market has like very efficiently priced these relative like to the scarcity and the importance of the moment.
Very interesting.
So yeah, that's that. Let's see here. I hear a lot of negatives. I'm trying to think outside of the box. If you have a Top Shot of a dunk or 3-pointer, maybe you want a card where they're dunking or shooting threes. I don't know if I follow this.
I don't.
I'm sorry, Delonde. I don't follow. Must look at the positives.
I don't even know where the negatives were. It's probably
I think what he's saying is like, he's saying like, okay, you can say that this isn't his first moment on the site or that, whatever, it's the wrong series, but I don't really give a shit about that Zion assist.
Right.
I want a Zion block. I want a Zion slam. And I think, that's like kind of why this is fun to some degree, is that I do that too. I sold the LaMelo moment. The LaMelo moment's worth like what, $6K or something? I sold it at $745. It was a horrible sale. But I think it's a really stupid moment. I don't like it. So like it helps me because I had the balance in my wallet. It helped me buy a Zion block instead. And so I'm very, very happy with that, regardless of kind of the ROI of the decision. I don't like this moment. He hands the ball off to some other dude. The guy takes a dribble and a full step and then hits
That's
a three.
the only
It's not really an assist.
moment they have on here.
$5,000 moment, Ben.
He didn't do anything.
Exactly, but it's his first career game and first career assist.
But look,
How was that even
if
an
you want to
assist?
chase that, that's valid. But
It's
if you
not an
don't want to
assist.
chase
He's
that, I think
moving
it's
away
also
from the
valid.
basket, then he
It's kind of
dribbles and
fun.
shoots. That wasn't an assist in my day. Don't make me go all boomer.
You sound like someone from like Silent Generation.
Well, this is why, like, what's fun is when the first moment and a sick moment align. Pat and I are both very amped on this Zion. I mean, watch this block, Ben.
Yeah, that's very fun. I want that moment.
It's just like
It's $10,000. I don't want it that bad, but I want it.
so. Pat and I forgot to tell the story of how we kind of paper clipped our way up to this moment because people might enjoy that.
So during the dip, we found a guy who was liquidating his account, and Eric called me out on one of our streams because I was literally refreshing my monitor as we were live streaming because I had found this guy was liquidating, like selling everything he owned at a loss. And he had bought it like 3 days before. He just wanted out. He sold everything. We managed to grab one of the Zion moments that's now going for, Pete, I think it's going for like $9K. We sold it at like 4.5. So we should just held it. But we got it for under 2K and then sold it. We were going to sell it, but before we did, we realized the Zion block was going to keep going up and up. So we bought the Zion block first, and then we sold the other Zion that we bought previously so that we kind of made a lateral move to the Zion block.
The other part of that, though, is we got a really sick serial on the Zion block. We got number 81 out of 1357. And it's his first moment on the site. Dare I say he's a generational player and like a legitimately sick moment. So it checks like most of the boxes you would want on Top Shot. Like the only thing better would be if it was the MGLE or the Cosmic version of this. But like otherwise, it has everything you want. So that's the story of
Somehow
how
Pat's audio got worse.
it did get
Switching
worse
to his good internet, which is fantastic.
Yeah. All right. We should wrap this down. I feel like we covered a lot of ground. We talked Top Shot. We had a long. We let Ben Gretsch get some player comp takes off.
The $99 thing is at 9 a.m. tomorrow. For me, it's 12 p.m. Eastern.
It says 9 p.m. Wait.
Everyone else is saying noon. Eric said 12 p.m. Eastern, which would be noon.
I think Hassan means 9 a.m. PST.
He means 9 a.m.
So it's noon.
It's tricky.
Yeah. Goodness.
So I got to get an account by 9 a.m. tomorrow if I want to try to get in line.
You need to get an account just to go for that pack. Yes.
All right. I'm going to do it.
There you go. We hooked Ben Gretsch. Guys, we appreciate you tuning in. We will be here every Wednesday. I mentioned this on Lulz. I am going to be gone in 2 weeks, but Gretchen and Pat are more than welcome to hold down the floor. The fort.
How mad is everyone going to be if I get one of the packs tomorrow?
No, we're going to be happy.
It's going to be pretty. I'm going to get one. Let's just like put it out there. I mean,
I like this confidence. I'm telling you, I am being dead serious. I want you to get one. I want you to get hooked because I want to see Ben Gretsch Top Shot content.
All right,
let's do it. Pat, any final words from your fucking shitty ass mic? He's just not going to say anything. Good call. All right. We appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe. By this time next week, Ben Gretsch will be doing giveaways of his rare packs for followers. That's basically how the evolution of Top Shot works. Rate and review us on iTunes. Subscribe to Ben's Substack. He's putting out 10 articles a week. One of the best bang for your buck values on the internet. We'll see you guys next time.